In today's Final Touch, we have another Guinness World Record.
It's a record nut bush attempt. Stay with us here. Take a look at this large group of nuts out in the bush doing the nut bush. Apparently, this is a super popular Australian line dance, and this group had over 1,700 festival goers. Broke a Guinness World Record by gathering in the outback and nut bushing it up. Actually, the festival participants. I never heard of the nut bush.
That looks like fun.
That's our time for now. Thanks for watching. Stay cool. We'll see you back here again tomorrow. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.
Right now, residents on Madison's north side are upset about a proposed affordable housing project in their neighborhood.
And temperatures could feel like 110 degrees tomorrow. We'll have more on a new study that says we could be seeing this kind of heat more often.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 5.
And thanks for staying with us at 5. Northside Madison neighbors say they are concerned that an affordable housing project could bring more crime and lower property values in their neighborhood.
But city officials say the area could desperately use the increased units. Rose Schmidt joins us live from Huxley Street to show us where this housing would go. Rose?
Yes, well, the Heritage Credit Union is leaving, so a real estate developer wants to turn this space into affordable housing. And the alder for this community says it's the perfect location because it's right across the street from the North Transfer Point. Alder Syed Abbas sent flyers to neighbors in this area this week to tell them MSP Real Estate has filed an application with the city to build a housing project in the nearly 3 acres where the credit union currently is. It would have 61 senior units and 50 multifamily units. 85% of those would be affordable housing, and the other 15% would be market rate. But Abbas has already gotten phone calls and emails from concerned residents saying they don't want to add a bad element to the area.
I think so. To address crime-related issue, that's a separate domain rather than attaching that to affordable housing, because these people deserve a chance to live in a place which is welcoming.
On News 3 Now at 6, we'll hear from a longtime Northside neighbor who lives about 100 yards away from the proposed development. He'll talk about why he's strongly opposed to this project. And Abbas will be holding a neighborhood meeting on Tuesday, hoping to hear any concerns from residents who live in this area about the project.
All right, Rose Schmidt reporting live tonight. Rose, thank you. Now to weather. Muggy today, even hotter tomorrow. Take a look now at your first alert weather with Chief Meteorologist Gary Canolti out on the weather patio. Gary?
Well, this morning, showers and thunderstorms gave us enough cloud cover to prevent us from getting as hot as possible. And I'll tell you, that's a good thing because it is so humid out here. It actually feels hotter right now than it did yesterday at this time. Let's start out by taking a look at visible cloud track. The clouds are finally starting to clear out of southern Wisconsin. And because of that, our temperatures have started to climb this afternoon. Now, there's an alert day in the forecast for tonight for the possibility for an isolated strong to severe thunderstorm. That's much less certain than what we saw last night. And then tomorrow, probably our hottest day of the year with high temperatures in the middle 90s. Heat index values to near 110. Saturday, look for highs around 90, but thunderstorms late in the afternoon could be strong and break the heat. Right now, nothing showing up across southern Wisconsin, but there is a slight risk of severe thunderstorms as more storms may develop tonight. A marginal risk north of Madison for tomorrow and a marginal risk on Saturday as the cold front comes through. Heat advisories in effect for most of southern Wisconsin through 11 p.m. tomorrow night. For southwestern Wisconsin, an excessive heat warning in effect for Crawford and Grant counties. Temperatures have recovered now into the mid to upper 80s. It's 91 degrees in Prairie du Chien. Look at these dew point temperatures. Now in the lower to middle 70s. It feels like 101 in Prairie du Chien and 100 in Boscobel, 93 in Madison, even though our temperature is not as warm as it was at this time yesterday. By tomorrow morning, temperatures should only drop into the mid 70s. Tomorrow will be sunny, very hot and humid with a high of 96. Again, that heat index could be close to 110 degrees, but there is a ray of hope in sight. We should break the heat by early next week. I'll have more details in weather.
All right, Gary, thank you. Dangerous heat possible across southern Wisconsin on Friday. As he mentioned, it could feel like 110 degrees tomorrow afternoon.
A new report says without action to slow climate change, dangerously hot days could be a much more common occurrence in Wisconsin by 2050. Meteorologist Dave Caulfield is here with more on the study. Dave?
Well, Eric and Susan, the report just released this week from the Union of Concerned Scientists paints an alarming picture of just how frequent heat index values in the triple digits could be by the middle of this century. Let's focus on Dane County for a bit. Historically, Dane County has experienced an average of 1 day a year with heat index values above 105 degrees. According to the report, with no action on climate change, that number could increase to 11 days of 105-degree heat index days by 2050 and almost a month's worth of days with dangerous heat index values by 2100.
When you're up at 105 degrees Fahrenheit, that's in a place where you're starting to get danger.
I think the heat is horrible. I've enjoyed the evenings because they're a little cooler, but I think it's too bad that we can't enjoy our daytime activities.
Now, heat-related illnesses like heat exhaustion and heat stroke become much more likely when the feels-like temperature is above 105 degrees. Included in those projections in that report are multiple so-called off-the-charts heat index days when feels-like temperatures exceed or will exceed the National Weather Service heat index calculations. Now, the increase in the amount of days with extreme heat could have impacts outside of heat-related illnesses or deaths going up. The report's co-author said that there could be decreased production from outdoor workers and dairy cattle, and even a reduction in student test scores if nothing changes on climate change.
Dave, thanks.
All right, a call that brought a large officer response to a condo on Madison's west side yesterday was determined to be a swatting call. Now, that's a false report of an emergency meant to frighten or cause problems. Officers had neighbors leave their homes or shelter in place after receiving a 911 call from someone claiming their adult daughter was in the bathroom with a gun threatening suicide. Police later determined the homeowner's daughter lived in another state and had broken up with someone recently. That call came from someone in Texas.
Madison leaders are calling for support for an abortion protections bill and denouncing a hate group that is moving through Wisconsin. At the Capitol today, they spoke out against the anti-LGBTQ, anti-abortion extremist group called Operation Save America. Speakers said the group has been harassing staff and patients at Milwaukee abortion clinics this week, and they've been instrumental in pushing restrictive reproductive health policy through Alabama and Kentucky. Representative Lisa Subak said the group has been active under a different name since the 1980s, and their tactics have not changed.
Trying to steer somebody away from the abortion provider, trying to steer somebody away from the reproductive health care center and into one of their, what they call crisis pregnancy center facilities, where people who enter those are given all sorts of wrong information. They do everything they can. They are the provider arm of the anti-abortion movement, and we can't allow that to continue.
Operation Save America members lobbied Wisconsin lawmakers today and preached outside the Capitol. The leader of the group says the allegations of intimidation tactics and fake healthcare centers are not true.
Malign us, slander us, make us look like we're the one that are terrorizing people. But when you look at the act of abortion, the true terrorism is revealed.
Representative Subak and other lawmakers are advocating for the Abortion Access Protection Bill that would repeal Wisconsin's 1849 law that criminalizes abortions and to codify Roe v. Wade abortion protections into state law.
The Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction is setting $6.5 million aside for mental health funding. That money came from a grant program. It will go to 120 public schools to help students get access to care and for educational programs related to mental health. Officials expect this to help 120,000 students receive mental health care services at school. Republican Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald is calling for a veto override on the plan for road funding. Governor Tony Evers vetoed $90 million down to $75 million for local road funding. Now his administration is shifting that local roads money to a grant program that's open to any transportation project, including Milwaukee streetcars. Republicans did not have enough votes on their own to override a veto.
The Verona Area Historical Society is restoring a small plot of land, one with historical significance that's been largely forgotten for decades.
And for the volunteers, it's about more than preserving what was. It's actually righting a past mistake. Madeline O'Neill joins us with details on the project. Maddie?
If you're ever in Verona, you likely drive by a rectangular strip of grassland between Gus's Diner and the festival foods being built without recognizing what it is. The Historical Society is changing that.
This is kind of a chance to right a wrong.
Tucked into a modern-day scene, you'll find an old place meant for remembrance.
It's something to be preserved.
Being lost in the weeds.
As human beings, your final resting place should be a place that's respected.
This is a cemetery where about 440 people, many who resided in the old poorhouse and Dane County Asylum, are laid to rest away from their families.
One was Pearly Blue.
Longtime Verona resident John Scher remembers the stones here.
We brought some flowers out.
And some the stones represent from when they'd visit his parents' restaurant.
Another was Jake, another was Hub. It's very important that they are not forgotten.
The stones were here starting in the 1880s until around the 1950s.
Whoever removed all these stones I don't think they realized the full gravity of what they were doing. And it was kind of one of those long local history mysteries. Where did all the stones go and why?
Verona Area Historical Society President Jesse Charles says a part of the puzzle was found built into a Verona resident's patio.
When these stones were piled up and thrown away, he took about 80 of them and built a patio.
Now they're putting the discovered pieces back together.
Well, thank you again, everyone, for coming.
The stones themselves don't give much of a clue. Instead of names, they just have numbers.
107 here. I can tell you who this is.
But records provide a roadmap.
107 is John Kraft.
As volunteers restore the cemetery as accurately as possible.
I think this one's good. It just feels really good to be putting it back where it belongs. So I always like to know the name of the person. This is Marg Rasmussen.
It's more than bringing the stones home.
Thanks, guys.
It's setting things right.
It does make a big difference, I think.
Last Saturday was the crew's fourth dig day as they worked to put back the nearly 80 discovered gravestones. As part of their Bringing Their Stones Home project, they're raising money for a plaque that will have everyone's name on it.
That is a pretty neat little tribute to history there. A lot of hard work and some hot weather as well.
And you would almost never know it's there.
Yeah, Maddie, thank you. Very interesting.
3 historic Great Lakes lighthouses are up for auction. Lake Huron's Poe Reef Lighthouse that guides ships through a hazardous channel, Ontonagon Breakwater Lighthouse, the westernmost lighthouse on Michigan's Upper Peninsula, and the Superior Entry Lighthouse that sits on a sandbar between Superior and Duluth. The U.S. General Services Administration is offering them up through an online auction. Their lighting mechanisms will continue to help ships navigate and will remain the U.S. Coast Guard's property.
Still ahead at 5, a Russian-owned app that's recently gone viral is sparking a discussion about privacy. We'll hear from the experts about if you should actually be concerned.
And there's more local news ahead. A veteran is returning to his Rock County alma mater as part of a cross-country tour, the mission behind his trip. Tonight on News 3 Now at 6.
Quick check of Wall Street. The Dow ticks up 3 points in Thursday trading. The NASDAQ up 22. The S&P 500 adds about 11. And we'll be right back. The House has voted to pass a bill that would raise the federal minimum wage for the first time in a decade. There's little chance, however, that the Republican-controlled Senate will take it up. The Raise the Wage Act would bring the federal minimum wage up gradually from $7.25 to $15 an hour by the year 2025. There are new privacy concerns about the popular app that uses artificial intelligence to make users look older.
Democratic Party leaders are calling for an investigation into the Russian-owned Face app over concerns that it could pose national security and privacy risks. Created in 2017, Face app is based in Russia, but it claims the data it collects is not transferred to Russia. It also says most images are deleted from its servers within 48 hours. But experts say the app does not have access to your entire photo library.
This is one of the misconceptions of FaceApp. So FaceApp will take that picture that you take of yourself, right? If you upload an image to FaceApp, but it won't go through all of your photos, or at least no one has found evidence that they're doing that.
The Democratic National Committee is warning presidential campaigns not to use the popular app for security reasons, but tech experts say it shouldn't be a big concern for most people.
President Trump says he was not happy when the crowd at his campaign rally chanted, "Send her back," while he was talking about Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
What I would suggest, you go there, go to North Carolina, and you ask the people, why did they say that? But that's what they said. That's what they did. You'll stop them if they try to do it again. Well, I didn't like that they did it, and I started speaking very quickly.
But the president paused for 13 seconds while the crowd chanted. Omar tweeted a picture of her in Congress saying she's where she belongs and added the president's supporters will have to deal. Democrats say they will introduce legislation to beef up security around some of their colleagues.
On Capitol Hill today, lawmakers grilled the acting Department of Homeland Security Secretary about conditions at migrant detention facilities. Kevin McAleenan testified that since October, Customs and Border Patrol agents have encountered more than 800,000 migrants crossing the border, more than half of them families. House Republicans quickly came to McAleenan's defense, blaming Democrats for the crisis at the border.
You take the position in April, ask for resources. A couple weeks later, they deny the resources for 2.5 months. And then when the problem gets so bad, they say, oh, it's your fault.
McAleenan says CPB is working to expand a tent city named Donna to house new migrants, but says Congress must act to fix the broken immigration system.
All right, we've been talking about the heat for a while now. Let's get the latest. Your first alert weather with Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti. Gary?
Well, today we're supposed to see temperatures in the mid-90s. So far, we've only made the mid to upper 80s for the most part, and that's because we had a cluster of thunderstorms come through this morning and spread cloud cover over much of southern Wisconsin. But you can see with time, those storms moved off to the east. Skies are starting to clear. It's too late in the day to get temperatures up into the mid-90s, but we're still making the mid to upper 80s. But the humidity levels are higher, so it feels warmer at this time today than it did yesterday, even though temperatures are a little bit lower. We have alert days in the forecast for tonight. It'll be very mild and muggy with temperatures only dropping into the mid-70s. There could be an isolated strong to severe thunderstorm, but probably not as widespread as last night, and the thunderstorm chances are going to be higher farther to the north. Tomorrow will probably be our hottest day of the year with high temperatures in the middle 90s, heat index values nearing 110 in spots. And then Saturday, we should still hit the 90-degree mark with heat index readings up to about 102, but thunderstorms late in the afternoon could bring gusty winds, heavy downpours, but should be enough to start breaking the heat. On Doppler track right now, you can see a lull across southern Wisconsin. There are some showers, a couple of thunderstorms up to the north, a couple of showers trying to develop across southern Minnesota. This might be the next area that we'll have to watch for thunderstorm development, but right now the computer models take most of the activity into central Wisconsin rather than diving at southeast across southern Wisconsin like was the case last night. But because of the threat, at least, the Storm Prediction Center does have a slight risk of severe thunderstorms through all of southern Wisconsin with a marginal risk farther to the south. But tomorrow, that severe weather threat shifts north as the atmosphere expands and thunderstorms become much less likely. In fact, I don't have any rain in the forecast here, but if a storm should develop, it could become severe, mainly north of Madison. Saturday, as that cold front comes through late in the day, that's when we could see another chance for a strong to severe thunderstorm. Following that, though, there should be a break in the heat and humidity. We have heat advisories that are in effect until 11 p.m. Tomorrow for all of southern Wisconsin. Crawford and Grant counties are under excessive heat warnings. As we take a look at current temperatures right now, you can see those readings generally in the middle 80s, but they're in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees over southwestern Wisconsin. And take a look at the dew point temperatures. They're in the middle middle 70s. These are dew points, 80-degree dew point in Platteville, 81 in Mineral Point. So this is what it feels like. You factor in the humidity, and it feels like 105 in Mineral Point, 102 degrees in Platteville. So even though the temperatures aren't quite as warm, it's a good thing we didn't get that warm because those heat index readings would be wildly high. You can see on the day planner, those temperatures for tomorrow, we're looking for high temperatures to reach the middle 90s over much of southern Wisconsin. So again, that's something that we're just going to have to keep in mind for tomorrow. Probably our hottest day of the year. After that, though, it looks like we should see at least a break in the heat and humidity. So our forecast includes the heat advisory that's in effect for much of southern Wisconsin through 11 p.m. tomorrow evening. An excessive heat warning for southwestern Wisconsin. Look for those temperatures to gradually drop only into the mid-70s tonight with just an outside chance of a shower or thunderstorm. High temperatures tomorrow, middle 90s with mostly sunny skies. It'll be breezy and heat index readings could be up near 110 late in the afternoon. On future track, you can see the best threat for any thunderstorms will be north of Madison for tonight. Tomorrow, look for high temperatures in the middle 90s with plenty of sunshine. Just an outside chance of a shower or thunderstorm tomorrow night, mainly well to the north. And then on Saturday, that is the cold front comes through. You can see that wind shift. By late afternoon, temperatures start dropping into the upper 80s. Rainfall amounts through Sunday about a half inch to an inch and a half, but some areas could pick up over 2 inches if you get caught underneath a heavier thunderstorm. But here's the improvement. Notice those temperatures dropping back to between 80 and 85 for much of next week. Just a slight chance for a thunderstorm the following Saturday, but a prolonged period of dry weather on the way. As we take a look at first alert traffic right now, there's the view from the DOT camera right by the Merrimack Ferry. Things pretty quiet out there right now. The Beltline, though, boy, we're seeing delays in both directions between Monona Drive and Verona Road eastbound, westbound from around Fish Hatchery Road back to almost to Monona Drive. Right now, about almost a half hour in either direction between University Avenue and the interstate. If you're heading out of Madison, 27 minutes down to Janesville on I-3990, and even 20 minutes to Sauk City on US 12, and also 20 minutes to Sun Prairie on US 151. That's your News 3 Now First Alert Traffic.
All right, thanks, Gary.
Congress discussing a bill to prevent trophy hunting of vulnerable animals. Coming up, more on the Cecil Act. Stay with us.
After shutting down all stores nationwide, Toys R Us is making a comeback. Its owner, True Kids Brands, announced it will open 2 permanent stores in November, one in Texas and another in New Jersey. The new stores are almost unrecognizable with tech-infused designs. They will still sell toys, but fewer of them. Toys R Us plans to open another 70 stores overseas as well. 900 locations still remain open in Europe and Asia.
Volkswagen announces it is ending production for the VW Golf and Golf Sport Wagon. Earlier this month, Volkswagen killed off the iconic Beetle, the car maker prioritizing SUVs and crossovers now instead based on consumer trends. 3 new SUVs are expected to be released within the next 2 years. The 2015 death of Cecil the lion in Zimbabwe provoked outrage in the United States, bringing to light the controversial issue of animal trophy hunting.
Now Congress is aiming to protect wildlife from what some call a disturbing hobby. CBS News correspondent Danya Backus reports from Los Angeles.
Cecil was the star attraction of a national park in Zimbabwe before an American hunter killed him in 2015. That hunter, Minnesota dentist Walter James Palmer, seen here with another dead lion, paid more than $50,000 to hunt and kill Cecil.
Justice for Cecil!
Cecil the lion's death sparked controversy around the world and brought attention to animal trophy hunting. Now, nearly 4 years later,
the Cecil Act's requirements are critically needed and long overdue.
A House bill known as the Cecil Act aims to protect animals from trophy hunting.
Trophy hunters don't kill for conservation. They kill for bragging rights, for fun.
During a Capitol Hill hearing Thursday, animal rights activists praised the bill, saying it would protect the most vulnerable animals.
The truth is that trophy hunting is a rich boys club that is of little benefit to wildlife.
But opponents argue trophy hunting is an effective tool for conservation.
Trophy hunting is an important revenue stream for our conservation efforts.
If we collapse trophy hunting, there's no incentive to maintain these habitats.
If passed, the Cecil Act would restrict the import of animal trophies to the U.S. unless the country where the animal was killed demonstrates the kill substantially benefits the conservation of that species. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And stay with us. We'll have another check of your forecast in just a moment.
Finally at 5, a new study shows a compound found in red wine could help astronauts resist the negative impacts of being in reduced gravity.
Scientists have found that astronauts staying for 6 months or longer on the International Space Station can suffer bone loss and muscle atrophy. The new study suggests that resveratrol, an antioxidant and compound found in blueberries and in the skin of grapes, could help keep astronauts strong. So drink up there on your way to the space station. They need a bar up there in the space station. Final check, Gary.
Yeah, temperatures are pretty warm right now, mid-80s to around 90 degrees, but when you factor in these dew point temperatures that are outrageous, some cases around 80 degrees, it feels like 105 degrees in Mineral Point and 100 in Boscobel.
All right, Gary, thanks. Stay tuned for the CBS Evening News. We'll be back in 30 minutes.